Hi Remy, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Well, it's really good, and I'm really happy that we get to do this. I know it's been a while since we had our last call, but yeah, before we dive in, I just want to kind of see how you're arriving into this space today, mentally, emotionally, physically.
Not bad. I'm a little tired. I worked an early morning shift, but that's pretty on par for me. It was a pretty busy week, but it's been a good week.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate you being here and being present with me today. So, if there is anything pressing on your mind or anything that is just needs to get off your chest. Now is the time that I'd like you to express that. And if not, it sounds like you're juggling a lot, and we can just create that space for you today and kind of figure out what would be the most helpful for you today.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything too pressing that I can think of.
Okay. So with everything that's going on, I know school, work, and just life is a lot. So, what would feel the most important for us to talk about today?
Um, I don't really know. I feel like I've done well balancing it. I've kind of been going from one thing to the next, but I've been getting everything that needs to be done. But I definitely have not had a lot of time to myself recently. So.
Yeah, I know in the past we've talked about how much you're doing, and it definitely sounds like a lot to carry for one person. And again, I know you're juggling a lot when it comes to school and a lot when it comes to work. And, trying to find that balance has been something that we've been working on in our past couple sessions, trying to find that middle ground where you can enjoy your life outside of school and work.
Yeah, definitely. I've been trying to pick up extra shifts or, house sitting, dog sitting, whatever I can right now. I pay all my school on my credit card, and I just paid for my summer courses, which were a little bit more expensive than I expected. So, yeah, just trying to catch up with that.
Yeah, no, school can be a lot for sure. And getting through it yourself is definitely a struggle. So, out of everything, that we've kind of talked about, school, work, life, what feels like the most pressing thing that you'd like to explore with our time today?
Um, I think the thing that's been going on is I told you last time how someone I, cared about passed away.
Mhm.
I've been helping out with his son a lot, and his son's mom has been definitely leaning on me, which is fine, but I definitely don't feel like I'm the right person for it. So it's just been a lot because 8 year olds just in general are a lot, and I've had him about 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week right now. Just trying to help her stay afloat. But I don't know how much longer I can sustain that with like the rest of my responsibilities and also what do I say to her when she's venting and things like that.
Yeah, it's totally valid to feel that way. And yeah, it sounds like a difficult situation to be in. So, could you maybe tell me more about what this past week or two, like in this situation, has felt like for you and what moments have really stood out?
Yeah, so the week before last, it was really good. I had her son, I had Nico um, all day for like 2 days. I brought him to work with me. Luckily, my job was accommodating. I had already had, prior to Steve passing away, I'd already had legal paperwork filled out there to where I could bring him in and
Mhm.
use the childcare. So they worked with me on like allowing me an extension of time for how long he could be there, which was great. But the day before, like I had him all day. We from 7 a.m. all the way to 6 p.m. So it's just a long time in general. So I've had that, and I've been trying to, I brought him to, I've known him long enough. He's known me long enough that we just ran out, ran errands. He was there while I meal prepped and grocery shopped and whatnot. We did some fun things like went to the farmers market and roller skating, what have you. But yeah, and then I just go back into work and class, having to do other things. It's tax season. I could not find for the life of me one of my papers, so I feel like I tore my apartment apart looking for it, and then I had to put it back together.
Of course.
Of course, why not? So yeah, and then school, we had a very extensive assignment to do. With my assignments, I essentially get a project every week, and you have to, go through it, analyze it, see, like research what you don't know, and then it's a production major. So you have to then film yourself doing it. And my sheets without notes were 5.5 pages long. So by the time I mapped it out, it was like 11 pages. And you have to videotape the entire way through, and it took me like 3 hours because I kept messing up and having to restart it. So that was a lot. Um, and then I had three other assignments on top of that, the same nature, and then both jobs, and yeah, so a lot of back and forth, school work, homework.
Yeah, that does sound like a lot. When you're in those stressful moments, what do you find yourself telling yourself ultimately? And like what kind of thoughts or self-talk tend to come up when you're in these stress
Um,
situations?
Especially as well for right now, like the more short term, it's the semester's ending soon. So a couple more weeks and I'm done with the semester, a couple more weeks and I'm done with the semester. And then I know once May hits and I enrolled in three summer courses just to get my GPA up. They are all on the same days and it's just a 1 month class, all
Hmm.
3 or 4 weeks, June 2nd to June 29th. So that's not that bad. But I know once I'm in it, I'll feel the regret of like, oh, I could be just, enjoying my summer right now. But I know I'll appreciate it in the future. But once that comes, it'll turn into a game of, okay, next year, this time next year, you'll be graduated, you'll have a degree. This time next year. So I'm definitely on the week counter and the month counter, and it's an investment. I keep telling myself.
Definitely. Yeah. And I just want to take a moment for a second because we kind of talked about two different subjects and totally okay exploring either one. But for our time today, you kind of started off by talking about being that person for Nico, right? And kind of being in that stressful situation. And we've kind of moved over to school, which sounds like it is a big stressor and a lot of stuff going on at the moment. And totally okay with talking about either one or how they both relate to each other. Just kind of wanted to collect our thoughts together and see what you really wanted to focus on.
Um, Maybe then more school because I feel like Nico's definitely a big part right now, more
Hmm.
than he's ever been. And it's definitely stressful, but I think that'll also get easier just by nature of time.
Hmm.
So maybe school. I'll focus
Okay.
there.
Well, out of everything that you're managing right now with schoolwork and all that, where do you find the most tension or friction? And what's one area that maybe feels slightly more within your control?
Um, so I have these next semester is my internship, but this semester is my observation. So I go and I just kind of shadow and I watch and I notate and reflect on the work that I see of interpreters that are out in the field. So it's a lot of hours that I have to complete by the end of the semester, but it is in my control how I schedule them out. So
Hmm.
I've been trying to find the best, as tiring as they are, the bulkiest areas that I can go to. That'll, in one day, I'm knocking out 6, 7 hours, you know?
Hmm.
Um, so I've been trying to find the opportunities that are the longest where once I drive somewhere, I'm getting the most like bang for my buck, so to speak, for the drive time.
Right. Is it difficult to find these or yeah.
Yeah, the whole nation is on a scarcity of interpreters, but Vegas especially is.
Okay.
And there's limitations. There's a lot of us that need a lot of hours, but you can only have upwards of two observers per interpreter. So while competing with my own schedule, I'm also competing with all of my classmates to get these hours. So it's a little stressful, but I've been trying to find the opportunities that other people wouldn't want to take that are less exciting, less, more boring, so to speak,
Hmm.
because they will ultimately get me to my end goal and requirement quicker.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like that's a pretty competitive and stressful situation to be in.
We need a total of 114 hours this semester.
Okay. And what are you at
So
right now?
74.
Okay. And do you
So
have
not too far off, but still it's quite a ways to go in 4 or 5 weeks. It's
definitely. It's really a short amount of time when you really think about it.
like 10 hours a week.
Yeah. Do you have any planned out for this next coming week?
I have a couple of one-on-one hours with my tutor that count, which is nice. So they're called facilitator hours. So I think I have two of those per week, which is good. I have another day where I go to a high school to observe, which gets me 7 hours. And then I have a couple more Zoom conferences that I've registered for. One of them is 9 hours long. So that'll be a really long day, but that'll give me a very chunky amount of hours.
Yeah. It's good to hear that you have a little bit of plan and so that you're not, last minute rushing to get all these hours in because that would be even more stressful than I'm sure it already is.
Yes. Yeah. It's also very interesting just when you have a long work week and then you get to end your week by going to back to a high school. Kids are very interesting these days.
Yeah.
So interesting.
You enjoy being around the high schools and kind of
I
doing.
like the high school kids more than the middle school kids.
Okay.
I've done elementary, middle, and high school. I
Okay.
like high school kids more because they have more of a grasp of their own language, so
Hmm.
they're funnier.
Oh,
They
yeah.
have the ability to be funny.
Okay.
So
It's
we have
fair.
one kid. He's kind of problematic just because he's a very complex person. He's deaf, has ADHD, and then even though he technically hasn't been diagnosed with it yet, he's got a strong genetic history of it, and he's showing the signs of he's being monitored to be diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Okay.
So he kind of says some racist things sometimes, but in sign language because he's talking to someone that no one else can see.
Hmm.
So, which is it's very interesting to witness, but it makes a 7 hour day at a high school go by very fast.
Okay. Well, yeah, it definitely sounds like these situations are can be pretty stressful. And, it sounds like, again, you are balancing a lot. And when it comes to school, it's definitely a struggle. And you're in this competitive environment, competing for hours with your other classmates. And if a part of you knows that you need like a shift or deep down something to help ease the pressure, do you know what that would be? Or what part,
Um,
you know?
what I have been doing, even if I'm really tired or I have a really early morning the next day, is I've still been trying to let myself read for at least like 30, 45 minutes at night, just because I feel like it's a good way to unwind. It's very different from the rest of my day. It's something that I enjoy. So,
Okay. Yeah, I know you've mentioned reading and cleaning and doing all that good stuff. So definitely making sure that you have some time for that is good.
yeah.
Yeah. So what does it look like to create just a little bit more space for yourself this week? And what does space really mean to you in this session and this week with so much on your plate?
Um, I would really like just to have gaps between all of my responsibilities. So last week I had a day on Friday. I woke up, I had to be at the high school. I leave for the high school at 6 a.m. And then I went directly from the high school to meet with my accountant, do my taxes. Then from there, I went directly to my second job. And then from there, I went directly home to do homework and cook with no breaks in between. And I wish I just had like 30 minutes in between would be nice just to, sit, just go on my phone, do something mindless, just sit down and do nothing even.
Yeah. Create that little space in between all your other tasks. So if you could let go of one thing right now, and it could be an expectation, habit, thought, what might it be?
In a perfect world, it would be my second job.
Oh,
Take away that requirement if I could take away the stress of needing it too.
okay. So what is a tiny step that you can take that supports you without adding more to your plate?
I do have the opportunity at my first job to make commission on selling personal training. And I feel like if I were to be able to sell more personal training, maybe if I try a little harder there, it would alleviate the burden of if I call out of my second job for a couple hours a week, I still have that difference financially.
Hmm. So this second job, is it weighing on you more than maybe some other things in your life or other stressful?
I wouldn't say it's weighing on me more, but it is frustrating when I get done with my main job, which is people facing, so it's very draining by the time I'm done. I'm kind of talked out for the day, I feel like.
Hmm.
And then I do have the obligation and, the want to go to school. And then, I hit my day off from my main job and then I realize, oh, nope, you still have to get up and you have to go to a different job, and shift gears there. So it's taking away the frustration of just having a second job, I think would be very beneficial for me.
Okay. And do you think this second job gets in the way of other aspects of your life, like your schoolwork or getting those hours, or does it add stress to these situations?
100% because, it's 15 hours a week. It's a full day out of the week and then half of another one that I could be available to do these hours. And, or just I could have more of a social life, more time to myself, just in general, more time to, exercise, things like that. But I can't because I have this obligation and I have this financial need to go. And so at the time, I don't have the ability to just leave it.
Hmm. When you say you don't have the time to leave it now, are you taking any steps currently that are putting you in a situation to where you might not need this second job down the road?
I am. I'm trying to be very mindful with my savings so that way, especially once my last semester hits and it's the most intense semester, I have the ability to cut back on the job because I, might have a more strict budget, but I have the ability to support myself off of just my main job.
Okay. And to look at this on like a scale, how realistic does that feel for you on maybe like a scale from 9 to 10? Or sorry, 1 to 10, and how do we get it to a 9 to 10?
Right now, we're probably sitting at like a three, but I think I think it's doable. I think if I keep on the budget and the track that I have set out for myself for saving, I can do it and then maybe cut back that second job maybe a month into my last semester. So get past the first week when it's not as tough, and then I can focus more on school by cutting back that second job for the last, couple weeks, couple months to focus.
Okay, I like that.
I won't, have a lot of time for social activities with the expectations of that semester anyways. So I don't, yeah, I think it's doable.
Okay. Now, what would be maybe something that you can add to even make that more feasible?
I have started working with someone for investing, so hopefully that return will start fairly quickly. So that would definitely alleviate a lot of that stress of thinking about the financial cost of getting through school and saving and all of that.
Okay, it's good to hear. Now, I am curious, out of everything we've kind of talked about today, what has really stood out the most for you, and is anything, helped you maybe relieve some stress or realize something that you didn't before the session?
I feel like I manage it pretty well, and then when I say it out loud, I think it does make me realize that I am doing well managing it all versus I could be a lot more tired, my place could be a lot messier. Little things like that could have slipped through the cracks, and I feel like I've done makes me realize I have done good balancing it all.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you have a lot going on, and I can tell how much you have going on and how much you're trying to balance. And every time we do talk, it does seem like you have a really good grip on everything that you're doing, even though there's so much going on. So I just want to give you kudos for that. I do believe you are juggling a lot at the moment, and it is awesome to hear how you're able to schedule all these things out and make them work. So I just want to give you a pat on the back for that. Now, if there is one thing that you want to walk away with or commit to between now and our next session, what might that be?
Definitely taking the time on a more regular basis to read at night. I definitely do think that's helped. So making that more of a regular practice, just something I expect that I'll do. I think that's a good, easy milestone to add on.
Huh. Now, how might you hold yourself accountable to that?
I could track it in my calendar and tell you next time.
Okay. Is there anything that I can do from my end to support you more in following through on this task?
I don't think too much. Maybe a check-in to see, did I read the night before? Have I kept up with it maybe between our sessions?
Okay, I can definitely do that. Now, I just, again, want to take a moment to just acknowledge you. You've shown up here even in the middle of everything that you're doing, and it takes a lot and a strong person to do that. So, again, very proud of you, and I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for being here.
For having me.
So, before we wrap up, how are you feeling now compared to when we started our conversation?
Pretty good. I like these little check-ins. It just helps me, see my current situation. So I think it definitely helps.
Awesome. Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about today before we wrap up?
I think I'm all good for today.
Okay. Well, let's figure out a time where we can meet up again and talk. Hopefully, not too long of a break, but I know you have a busy schedule, so we'll definitely work around that.
Yeah. Let's see what I have. I could do maybe the 11th,
Okay.
or I could do the 18th, or both.
Yeah. I mean, both would be awesome. Let's aim to do both the 11th and 18th so we
Okay.
can just keep going, keep this ball rolling, and hopefully find you some more balance with all this work and school and life stuff.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, Remy, again, I want to thank you for your time, and I'm always here for you if you need me. Reach out, and I will check in on you throughout the week to make sure you're reading.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Remy.
Of course.